You mentioned when you're describing sort of your career to date in terms of like your workings with football clubs. Now I've got the list here. Obviously Liverpool involved, Everton, Manchester United, Manchester City.
Yeah.
You've covered the Northwest, it's fair to say.
Yeah.
You don't need to tell us about your inner work into Liverpool, but just in terms of what your capacity and what your role was there.
Yeah, it was more as from a consultant outside of supervision. And when I was at John Moores, we had a really good relationship with both of the football clubs, so Everton and Liverpool. So with Everton, we set up an internship program, which still goes on. So we're sort of 20 years within that. So again, that's around sport nutrition, sport psychology, strength and conditioning, performance analysis, and then that's overseen by the academics, and the students get intern. They have to compete for internships. The Liverpool model was slightly different. So when we had the conversation with Rick a number of years ago, it was around, again, it's that trying to infiltrate the football world with academics. So it was a cultural element. We're trying to the applied practice academics, and also people who actually not going into a football club and telling people who have the craft knowledge what to do, but basically trying to understand what are the problems you've got within the industry and how can we provide some scientific understanding of that to enable you to develop best practice and also enhance your practitioners. So Liverpool went for a model of funding PhD studentships, so the sort of doctoral levels, and they will be practitioner come researchers. So again, the oversight of that, and then you've got a number of the sports science team at Liverpool now have come through the John Moores pathway. So I think seeing that come to fruition and that investment in young practitioners, but with a scientific and theoretical background in terms of trying to be at the cutting edge of practice has been great. So yeah, so it's overseeing that, and then more my own work has been typically involved around the sort of the athlete development, athlete welfare, and also the transitions between junior to environments to senior environments, and then working with some of the guys at Liverpool to. Again, Julian Ward, who's technical director, looking at when he was there initially, he was talent pathway manager. So again, that interest around the 18 to 23 phase and signing a professional contract, but not quite making it as a first team player. So again, how do we create a more bespoke developmental experience for an individual player whilst within the confines of a team and outcome orientated environment? So it's a really sort of fascinating conundrum.
That element of bridging the academy to the first team fascinates me, and people watching, listeners will be aware of my fascination with it. Vito Matos was in the role for a little while. He was sort of the elite development. I can't remember exactly what his title was now, but he was essentially that in Jurgen Klopp's team. Yeah. He was sort of tasked with making sure that bridge was there, and he was sort of like a friendly face, if you like, in order to do it. But yeah, that 18 to 23 phase where you are old enough essentially to break in, but are you ready enough? Yeah. Like you mentioned loans as well to me in terms of like the loan periods. Yes. It's all a fascinating area because I watch a lot of academy football, and I always wonder, like, at what stage are they deemed ready? Obviously, is it all sort of physically? Is it all talent led? Is it because of their maturity? Like the conversations around that are a real interesting one to me.
Yeah. Well, I think fundamentally because in the 18 to 23 phase, you have to fulfill a fixture. So you need a number of players in your squad to be able to fulfill the fixture. But in essence, everybody knows that a lot of those players aren't actually going to be first team players. So it's the conundrum of developing an individual but within a team environment, whilst the team is then set up to try to compete and win within their particular, so the under threes, the EPL2 and all that. So developing the individual whilst also trying to create a team that wins is the difficulty from the coaching perspective. Because really the only result that matters from an outcome perspective is the first team result. So it's again about understanding the success metrics of the coaches in that environment. And I think if they're clear, so again, changing the conversation from, did you win at the weekend to more about the performance and did they improve? Did they benefit from the training plan that you were working at? can you see improvements in performance? And then it's the sense of readiness, because again, in the 18 to 23 phase, whilst it's a good standard, it's not what I would describe as a meaningful competitive fixture. So the meaningfulness only comes from going out on loan and playing when you've got a crowd baying, when you've got somebody else playing against you who is basically fighting for their livelihood. So that's the meaningfulness of the competition. So until you've got that, it's very difficult to then jump into the first team environment.
Okay, I've got a couple of questions.
Okay.
18 to 21, again, I don't know if I said it off air or on air now. I go and watch them a lot. And I've been fortunate enough to speak to Marbridge Wilkinson and Barry Lutus, both of whom actually left Liverpool over the course of the summer to follow their own journeys in their own different ways. And that's absolutely fine. Good luck to them. Really like both individually. Both of them would probably say they had disappointing seasons on the pitch when it comes to results.
Yeah. What
you just said there about results almost being, I'm reticent to use the word, but I'll say it anyway, irrelevant.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
From a Liverpool point of view.
Everyone wants to see, again, it's a cultural, it's ingrained in you, isn't it? So even from a younger age, I've coached the youngest. I coached at Woolton for a long time, but it's ingrained in you want the kids to win, but you're like, well, actually, no, this is a development process. So you want kids to have fun fundamentally. And as you progress through the ages and stages, then it becomes a little bit more of a critical process that you want to produce somebody who's going to be of benefit to the first team environment. And if you can enable somebody to move from the signing a professional contract 18 into the first team, then you've saved millions of pounds, which will have paid for the functioning of the academy. If that player signs for somebody else, then you've gained millions of pounds, which pays for the functioning of the academy. But if you look at the likelihood of a player that you've had from under nines making the first team, it's really, really low. It's like less than 1%. So you need to, but you still get players who get a contract, but then there's still a lot of work to be done. I think that notion of readiness is fundamentally down to having a significant period of meaningful competition. Hence why the loan system and I think a more strategic intent loan, so it's clear what am I going to do. Because I think again, if you're an 18-year-old and you're playing in the EPL 2 or the under 21s, if you're there longer than 3 months, you're going to stagnate in terms of it's good football, but it's not really going to prepare you for the first team. So unless you're an exceptional, but if you're exceptional, you're not going to be there for 3 months. Yeah. So it's that notion of, okay, I need to get out. And I think when you take that upon as a strategic process and you build the network, so again, I think Julian's done a great job of that, and obviously he's got now his successes in those roles. So you've got a network of places where you can, it's a within career transition, so you can go from being a really good 18-year-old to then playing, it can be in Scotland, could be in Norway, could be in France, could be in Germany, could be in Italy, and you then move in through, or it could be in the lower leagues, Division 2, and you're getting a meaningful competitive experience. And then you've got to accrue that experience, come back in. Did you achieve the outputs? Did you get the objectives that we were trying to achieve with you? And it's a clear conversation between the coaching staff and the player that we're actually managing your progression. And then you've come back into the fold. The next is this. And if the door doesn't open there, then we take you out again. And you've got to build up that level of meaningful competitiveness. So then you're developing the asset, so the player is accruing, so they're becoming more, so if they go to a Division 2 club, they become more equivalent to a Division 2 player. So then you can get a sense of their value and their worth. Then if they go to a Division 1 club or a Championship club, then again, and then they become more of a saleable asset as well as an asset readily available for the first team.
Yeah, I mean, Liverpool have used the loan system well, actually, in recent times. I think there's been really positive examples. There's been some on the flip side that maybe haven't worked quite so well, and we'll delve into them in a moment. But before I do, I wanted to come back to the 18s and 21s element of it, because again, having spoken to both managers, as they were, post-match after a disappointing defeat, let's just use it, and I'm almost in my role, and other journalists around me are going, well, that was a bit disappointed. And their language is completely the opposite. It is so focused on the positives and developments. And is that just, I don't want to say drilled into them, but is that just because that is the overarching theme of why they're there, really? Because it is getting players ready for first.
I think it's again infiltrating and permeating the level of expectation. So that will come from the ownership. It'll come from the sporting directive in terms of what are we expecting of you as a coach, and you want those players that have positive experiences. You want it to be critical in a constructive way, but you also have to recognise that that the 11 that are on the pitch aren't going to play for the first team. So you can create a great team in the 19s, 21s, but that team's never going to play for the first team. It's just, you're not going to just like get rid of the first team and play there. So you also but can that player fit in to the first team? Can those two players fit into the first team? How can they fit in? And is there a smooth transition into that space? Are they equipped and competent enough? Can they engage in the principles of the first team that you want to then permeate into the 21? So it's about having that communication and then having the conversations with the players. But the coaches, there will be a day when they're really disappointed. They haven't beaten, if they're playing Man United, Man City, Everton. It's really disappointing. But where's the performance of so and so and so? Was that? Are they improving on a week by week basis? Can you see improve? Can you see them as a likely player in the first team environment? And if they've got that sense of coachability, they're moving through the process, then it's like, okay, so what do we need to do now? So when you have that almost like an individualized, bespoke player development model for each individual, regardless of whether the team wins, loses or draws, that's what you need to do.
It's fascinating. It's that seeing that bigger picture, isn't it? And being able to sort of, because to us, and to fans, because I see it all the time when I'm at academy matches and some of the sponsors, when I put the result out or talk about the result, we might have been beaten by insert team here.
Yes.
They go, why are we getting beaten by them? Because the be all and end all to us is that result.
Yeah.
But again, the coaches just see it completely differently, clearly. You touched upon the loan system and another area that fascinates me. I want to ask you actually, before we talk into Liverpool, have gone back to a few different and a few same loan clubs, it's fair to say. They clearly garner these good relationships with them, and there's a reason for that. But in terms of knowing what types of players and when a player is ready for a loan, because I've got this, it's a very personal opinion, that I believe Liverpool see some players as they need a loan, they don't. And I think there's a couple now actually breaking into Liverpool first team, they probably will never go out on loan ever. Is that a conversation that gets had sort of behind the scenes?
Well, I think again the complexity of that is the things that we don't and people don't really share. And I think there's lots of it about personality. There's discussion with agents. There's the politics. There's the pipeline. So how many players have you got in your left back position, your left sided positions that are in front of you? And it's again. I mean, and if Liverpool, you look at the signings that they've made recently. The bar to get into the first team is so high now. So 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, the bar was a bit lower, but now it's like it's exceptional. They've got to be really, really, really exceptional to break in and provide something different to what they have. So in the meantime, you've got to then continue with the production line, but also the thing, it's not just playing for the first team. It's also about and again, from a business and an organisational perspective, it's asset management. So if you've had a kid from the age of 9 and they don't bring you any value, then you ask to question the system. So what have we been doing? We've been monitoring them for this long, but they've now gone out of the system. So what did we do wrong? And again, that sense of constructive, critical debate around the pathway, but knowing that a very slim number of less than 1-2% of players are going to actually make it. So, but if you do get someone to make it and you do sell them for 15 million, then you've pretty much covered the cost of running the academy. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the better management of your asset you have, then the more likely you're going to get some type of return on that investment.
I suppose in many ways then, what you're saying there, and Liverpool have Liverpool's academy's come in for a lot of praise, and rightly so, in recent years. We saw the examples of individuals breaking through and being successes at Liverpool's first team level. Yeah. There was the famous Carabao Cup win, which was won by the kids, essentially. That was the one. I remember going down to the academy after that, and Andy Kelly, I've mentioned already on the show, said to me like the amount of calls and messages the academy got just from locals saying how brilliant that was to see. So but I guess the most recent example of academy success, in inverted commas, if you like, from what you're saying there, sounds like something like Tyler Morton. Been the club since the age of 7. You know, gets sold for literally £50 million with a 20% sell-on clause. Like Liverpool's academy would view that, and I love Tyler, by the way, as a win, I guess, in that case.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not privy to how much Liverpool's academy costs to run, but you know, on average, and again, academy, Category 1 academy will cost between 3 and 5 million. You know, but that again, if you then can accrue from sale of your asset, then and everyone feels great about that, because if you're developing an individual, you know, from a very, very early age, who then fulfills you know, their career dreams, and you know, might not have been at Liverpool, that would have been ideal, but you know, he's a fantastic player. He'll have a fantastic career, and everyone who's enabled him to do that, from the scout that spotted him to the support staff, the sports science team, the coaching staff, the psychology team, the nutrition, you know, all the way through, you know, they'll all be going, yeah, brilliant, you know. So, but there's lots of other players that are in and around him that have enabled him to play and function. So at every level, there's another 12, 15 players that have been part of that, because they've got to fulfil the fixtures. Yeah,
no, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, let's quickly just finish off in the loan system. Then I alluded to it a moment ago. Liverpool have seemingly, it might be a new thing, might not be, but I've certainly noticed it more in recent years. Tyler Morton, actually, it could fall into this category, have generated and created. There's like a loan manager, I think, of the football club, but they've got a habit of sending players back to clubs that they've worked with recently. Is that something, because obviously they've had successes in doing so, and they just thought, well, build and continue that relationship?
So I don't know whether, I mean, Julian would, you know, but I think he's had a lot to do with that. So developing the network. So again, it's trusting your network. So a lot of that, taking a player in and then putting them out on loan, is all, you know, how is that club going to look after them? Who is allocated in the club to look after them? There's still, and again, the philosophy around the loan system, as it is not a case of just, you know, he needs to go out on loan, go to, you know, no disrespect, go to Carlisle for 3 months and then see how he gets on, and then we'll just like leave him there in the depths of the winter, and then see if he survives, and then he comes back and says, oh yeah, he's done all right. But actually having a more, okay, these are the things we want to achieve. This is the club we're going to send you to. This is how they play. These are the things that they do. This is the person that's going to look after you. These are the agreements. This is the contract that we've agreed with them. That you're going to get this much game time, you're going to get the training protocols in place. So it's a more strategic conversation, and then it's a realization of, you know, in 3 months' time, you've had one of the coaches who's been looking after you. So again, it's like when you go out on loan, it's a developmental experience. It's not that we're getting rid of you to go out on loan. It's actually part of your development pathway. You're a Liverpool player, but you're just playing in a different shirt. So we're still really interested in how you develop, and we're still going to celebrate if you have a good game for, you know, whichever. And it's going to be more publicised, internalised in the club and the environment, so that, you know, this is our development strategy. So I think Julian's got a lot of to credit around that, and the networks. So you can trust in, you know, you don't want players to, and you know, and you can't guarantee this. You don't want players to go somewhere and then almost detrain because they've not played, or they're not playing or training at the right intensity that Liverpool would like. So you've got to monitor that. So some of the sports science monitoring has to take place. And so again, it's a really strong monitoring system that's in place that allows you to then make really good decisions about whether to curtail the loan period, extend the loan period, or whether they're a really good partner.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen the curtailing of loan periods more than I've ever seen it before in the past few years. And as everything you've said there in terms of like, the exposure and the spotlight on these loans feels like it's gone up a notch or two, and the importance of the loan has gone up a notch or two, it feels like, as well.
Yeah, and again, I think it's that recognition of the meaningful competitive environment. So I don't know if you've seen, so Liverpool have invested in the loan system a lot more. So Julian's role as a talent pathway manager, there weren't any. So his professional doctorate was around understanding the role of a talent pathway manager and those networks and what is the role, what we're trying to do, what we're trying to achieve here. And now you start to see there's more talent pathway managers emerging in the Premier League. You've got more exposure around roles and responsibilities that are dedicated to the loan system. So you've got loan physiologists, physiotherapists, you've got loan S&C coaches, you've got loan psychologists. So if you look at Newcastle, for example, there's lots of loan related
job titles,
science support roles in place. And similarly at Liverpool, it's a network of, again, seeing it as an asset development, an individual bespoke pathway for individual players, but within again, it's that complexity of developing individuals within a team setting.
Yeah, that due diligence, as I say, that goes into picking the right clubs now feels like it's gone up a notch or two, and then obviously constant dialogue thereafter as well. Yeah. Fascinating.